A significant day arrives when scientists at a biotechnology laboratory begin cloning famous personalities for a hefty fee. Many wealthy individuals desire to have a child with the intellect of geniuses like Vivaldi, Galileo, or Michelangelo. However, the ambition escalates as people decide to aim for something even more valuable: God himself. After Lucifer rebelled against God's authority in heaven, he was defeated by the Archangel Michael. A blazing meteor was hurled into the underworld, where Lucifer was bound in chains and engulfed in punishing flames. Michael chained him to a rock and demanded he return as a humble angel, to which Lucifer retorted that he would rather rule in hell than serve in paradise, vowing to return as the ruler of the world. Over time, numerous demons joined Lucifer in his quest for revenge. On Earth, Lucifer's followers established a temple at the site of his fall, believing that he would one day return to dominate the world. In the present day, Lauren Milton, an American student, tries to convince her professor to accept her thesis, arguing that good and evil spirits do not exist. The professor declines but offers to discuss the topic privately, which Lauren rejects. Simultaneously, a rare exhibition opens at the museum displaying the Shroud of Turin, which contains the DNA of Jesus and attests to his resurrection. Lauren gains access to the museum with a badge from a priest she knows. Marconi, the priest, explains that Christ was wrapped in the shroud on the day he died, and that his body's radiant light left an imprint on the cloth, making the shroud a picture of Jesus. He escorts Lauren to the statue of the Archangel Michael, brought to the museum to guard the shroud. Marconi believes Michael is the only barrier between humans and the devil, while Lauren argues that evil is not an external mystical force but personality, and it is foolish to blame the devil for misfortunes. Marconi, however, is convinced that Michael is the only one preventing Lucifer's return. As the priest leaves, Lauren continues her work drawing. She hears her name but finds no one around. Despite feeling uneasy, she resumes her work. It's evening and the gallery is about to close. A final group of tourists enters, and while the guard is momentarily distracted, a cloaked figure slips through a side door. As Lauren continues working late, she thinks she sees Lucifer's head on the statue moving and hears the cry of a raven. Distracted, she approaches the window, unaware of the sinister figure behind her who takes a sword from Michael's hand and leaves. Laura closes the window and gathers her belongings. The guard offers to escort her out, but she declines, stating she needs to see Padre Marconi. As she heads to the chapel, she witnesses a figure in black slaying the guard with a sword. Terrified, Laura runs and hides in the confessional, watching as the woman with the sword breaks the glass protecting the shroud. Padre Marconi arrives, demanding in the name of Saint Michael that the sacrilege cease. The woman throws him aside and stabs him with the sword. Laura makes a noise, catching the villain's attention. The woman orders her underlings to take both the shroud and Laura, thinking they might have use for her. The bandits leave as the mortally wounded priest summons the Archangel Michael to inhabit his body and defeat his enemies. A luminous whirlwind descends from the heavens, reviving Marconi, who then pursues the villains, but they manage to escape. The scene shifts to a private auction where Dr. Lauren, one of the scientists, explains that he has developed a procedure to grow babies from the DNA of great historical figures, effectively resurrecting them. He presents the reincarnation of Vivaldi and his proud parents as proof, followed by the new Michelangelo Buonarroti, delighting the audience. During the bidding, the woman in black appears and signals the doctor. They rush to a castle, where the doctor sees the shroud, anticipating Lucifer's return. Meanwhile, Laura is dragged into a room where several girls are chained, all terrified and confused. Men enter to take blood samples and photographs of Laura. Father Marconi, now possessed by the Archangel Michael, arrives at a guard room where monks are watching the murder videos. Astonished to see him alive, they explain that the cardinal responsible is not himself, as he sees secret cults and the devil's minions everywhere. Michael takes car keys and drives to the cardinal's house while the doctor isolates DNA from the shroud. The elderly cardinal meets Michael with a gun, and upon learning what has happened, becomes enraged. He realizes that Michael is not Marconi. The cardinal shows Michael Lucifer's castle and suggests that his minions intend to revive him. He recalls scriptures that predict the devil will one day be freed from his chains and rise from the underworld. The time has apparently come, with two entities responsible for his release, a woman and an underground monster. However, only Michael or God can set Lucifer free. The devil's minions have offered virgins' bodies for centuries to create a vessel for the devil, but human bodies are too weak. There was one woman in history capable of bearing and giving birth to a son of God, and today, science aims to use Christ's DNA to open the gates for the devil. Michael asks to be taken to the castle, while the girls, including Laura, try to devise an escape plan and share their experiences. Laura reveals that her husband and son are dead. The doctor is informed of a successful DNA extraction, and the crumbling of the underworld wolves heralds the devil's release. The doctor informs Liz that Laura's body is a perfect match for all the required parameters. The girls prepare to ambush their captors, but another group intervenes and they are dragged into the laboratory. Despite their desperate resistance, fertilized eggs are injected into their bodies. Liz convinces Laura to endure it, believing Lucifer will favor her. Meanwhile, the Cardinal escorts Michael to the dungeon entrance, warning him of the monster ahead. The devil's minions gather around a well, tying 2 impregnated girls to a pillar. The monster leads them to the gateway to the underworld. They are placed in an iron cage and lowered down to Lucifer, who senses their approach. He transforms into a luminous stream and rushes towards them. The stream enters one of the girls, but her body fails and she dies. It then enters Laura's body. Liz and the servants greet her with delight, explaining that her child will be the new Jesus. Michael sneaks into the castle, disguises himself in a guard's uniform, finds the shroud, and searches for Laura. The doctor confronts him, but Michael sets fire to the laboratory. He finds Laura, but she realizes he is not her longtime friend and runs away. Michael catches her in a storage room and explains who he is, learning about what was done to her. They escape, but Liz orders Laura to be detained when she learns the shroud is missing. Guards rush after them. Laura and Michael hide from the underground monster in narrow passages, but it catches up and attacks the Archangel. Laura is captured by the guards. Enraged, she threatens Liz, saying she'll kill herself and the child. Liz orders her to be taken to a cell. Michael is captured and chained in the dungeon, while Laura is tied to a bed. Liz is determined to keep the baby. Gathering all his strength, Michael breaks free from his chains. As the castle guards search for the hidden shroud in the dungeon, the monster witnesses the Archangel's descent into the underworld. Upon reaching the bottom, Michael is attacked by imprisoned souls and discovers that Lucifer has been freed, with his sword missing. Mammon, the demon of greed, approaches Michael, revealing their plan to trap him here instead of Lucifer. Michael scoffs at the demon's arrogance for descending into a mortal body. He is then chained to a rock with Lucifer's sword. Meanwhile, Laura sees her child in an ultrasound and hears it call out her name. Startled, she wakes up to find Liz nearby, who learns what Lucifer has communicated to her. Liz recounts a story of a brave warrior and a tyrant who were once equals, but the tyrant desired to enslave the warrior. Laura speaks defiantly against the demon, which earns her a slap from Liz. Liz explains the bodily transformations necessary for bearing the divine child, but Laura refuses to accept her role as the mother of such a creature. Elsewhere, people devoted to Lucifer approach Michael, recognizing him as their oath saver and questioning his origins. They demand proof, and Michael realizes he needs a sword. Demons attack, causing chaos and forcing the men to flee. Lucifer visits Laura once more, speaking to her and persuading her to give birth to the child he desires, promising her freedom afterward, even the chance to kill Liz. Laura calms down and envisions herself holding the baby, but upon realizing the consequences of her actions, she escapes her confinement, brutally mutilating guards in the process. Horrified by her own actions, she locks herself in a warehouse and consumes chlorine in despair. Liz discovers Laura and assures her that Lucifer will soon fully consume her, granting her peace. However, Laura unexpectedly gains strength, seizing Liz and vomiting on her from the depths of her womb. Lucifer himself speaks through Laura, demanding Liz's death as soon as the child is born, along with anyone aware of their situation. Laura is imprisoned in a glass sarcophagus to prevent further attempts to harm the child. Lucifer returns to the underworld, encountering Michael and taunting him with an alliance that no one can oppose. However, Michael refuses to support the rebellion. He realizes that it is not the devil but God who has chosen Laura. She will give birth to Christ, not a vessel for the devil. Michael asks the people to bring his sword, but demons close in, making retrieval risky. Despite this, 2 men bravely fetch the weapon, freeing Michael. He dispels the demons and vows to return for his saviors. Returning to Earth, Michael locates the shroud and approaches Laura's sarcophagus. He is horrified by her transformation and tries to assure her that the child is not evil, but destined to defeat the devil. Laura emerges and rejects Michael's words, unleashing searing jets of water upon him in pain. Lauren takes control, demanding Michael kneel, but he refuses. In a final struggle, Michael promises that the child will defy Lucifer as the blood of Christ prevails over evil. Enraged, Laura throws Michael aside and begins to rampage, but then the birth begins. Meanwhile, Lucifer's followers gather in the castle courtyard, while Liz takes the newborn away. Laura is thrown down a well as the monster prepares a lethal chain. Liz presents the baby to the crowd, declaring the end of God's reign and summoning Lucifer to receive a baptism of blood. The monster unleashes its weapon, devastating the courtyard. Michael regains his senses and intervenes, while the doctor kisses the baby before succumbing to the blows. Liz flees with the child, and Michael rescues Laura from the well's edge. As Laura retrieves her baby, Michael acknowledges him as the chosen one of God. He asks Laura to find the cardinal and seals the underworld entrance, thwarting the demon's escape. Despite the monster's defiance, Michael triggers explosives, causing the castle to explode, much to the cardinal's relief. Later, the cardinal, Laura, and a child return to the temple, returning the shroud. Michael descends into the underworld, freeing his believers. Sometime later, Liz watches from afar as the cardinal and Laura walk through the woods with their grown son. She calls the boy Lucifer, who briefly reveals a dark jet from his nose before turning away. This unusual film explores themes of good and evil through the lens of modern scientific achievements, prompting reflection on humanity's understanding of its actions. Make sure to subscribe for more recaps like this.